Hello, today we're going to be looking at how to graph a quadratic written in standard form. So the first thing that we're going to need to make sure we remember is before the break we're talking about a quadratic function. It's typically going to be written in the format of y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, like we've been saying, y could be interchanged for f of x. It does not really matter in that regards. Now, the biggest thing is when we have an x squared. When we have an x squared in the equation, it's going to form a curve. That's a special curve which we call a parabola. Now, there are a couple of basics about a parabola that we really have to make sure we know. On a parabola, it's typically going to be referenced as a nice smooth curve. So I'm just going to kind of put one up here on the board so everybody can see it. There's a couple of things that we have to be able to pick off this graph. Okay, and you can see when I'm getting down towards the bottom of the graph, it was a nice smooth transition towards going back up. So the first thing we have to be able to pick off the graph is this low point. Like an absolute value, this is called our vertex. We have a special feature that passes through the vertex. It's called the axis of symmetry. The next thing that we have to be able to pick off a graph are the intercepts. So the first intercept that we have is our y-intercept. Where does the graph cross the line? Or cross the y-axis line, I should say. And then last but not least, we have two x-intercepts. We typically have two x-intercepts with these graphs. And that's going to be where the graph crosses the x-axis. And so these are the four things that you're going to need to be able to pick off a graph. The y-intercept, the x-intercepts, the vertex, and the axis of symmetry. Now the first thing that we can do to actually make a graph of a parabola would be to actually create a table. And so to create a table, we would simply use the x values as an input into the equation up here for the x. So in this case, if I was trying to find, say, x is -4 for the first value in the table, I would replace my x's with -4. So we have -4 squared plus 2 times -4, subtract 3. So the x's were replaced with a -4. So our first item we have would be 16. 2 times -4 would be -8, subtract 3 more. 16 minus 8 would be 8, subtract 3 more would be equal to 5. That's going to give us our first value in the table, -4, 5. On the graph, kind of pay attention, our y-axis is going by 2's, and so we're going to be up about half a square at -4, 5. And we just kind of repeat this process, but it can be kind of time consuming. So if we put in -3, so we'd have -3 squared plus 2 times -3, subtract 3. They give us 9. 2 times -3 would be -6 minus 3 more. So 9 subtract 6 would be 3. Subtract 3 more would be equal to 0. So we get -3, 0. And we just kind of continue throughout this pattern. So go ahead and just try to work it out. Pause the video for a moment and then restart it when you're ready to check your work. Okay, so the answer for -2 would be -3. Answer for -1 would be -4. 0 would be -3, and 1 would be 0. And like we said just a moment ago, we're going to get kind of a nice smooth curve. looks something a little bit like that. Okay, so now that you're finished with the first video, go ahead and open the second video, which is titled Axis of Symmetry and the Vertex. Thank you.